Good evening. Sometimes I get up in bed and out of bed and write when things are on my mind. And just right now, I decided to instead do a video blog because I think that I was wanting to make it into a video anyway, and so if I do it now, it won't be canned, like if I was reading it. So the thing that I'm thinking about right now is world domination. Not in a humorous sense, though. The U.S., in many ways, dominates the world in terms of the military. And I wanted to think very openly about the military domination that the U.S. does have over the world. And I wanted to take it in two hands, and not to judge either hands too harshly, but really to consider both hands. On one hand, I was thinking, for the past maybe year, I've been kind of starting to open myself to this foreign to me idea that maybe it's helping something to have the U.S. dominate the world. So I grew up in a family that was against war. And for a very long time I was against war. But somebody said something that put a nugget of an idea in my head that made me wonder if world domination is completely bad. They said something like, well, there are other foreign powers that would have done worse than America. And so I started thinking about that hand for a while. And opening myself to it some, because I was in a place of not feeling like I could do anything about this hand, though I don't want the U.S. dominating the world hand. And so it gave me a little comfort to think I might not be able to do anything about it. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay that the U.S. is dominating the world in the military in many ways, because the economy goes through the military. Like, there's so many things that are impacted by the U.S. military dominating the world. So, there's that hand. I think that's the hand I had originally. It's funny, when you hold up your left hand on the camera, it shows up your right hand. Maybe you hold up your right hand, it shows your left hand. It just looks backwards when you look at yourself in the video. Okay, okay. But lately, I started, since that opening of an idea, I wasn't really sure if it was right for a long time. I never really thought that it was right for the U.S. military to dominate the world entirely. I just was opening myself to it, being that maybe if China was dominating the world, it would be worse. Or if another foreign power was dominating the world, it would be worse for me. And that's kind of an important part to this, where the person who's thinking about these things lives. So, there's this other hand. And that hand is the hand of justice, I feel like. Because I recently took out a quote by Martin Luther King: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And I took it to heart. I take most of his quotes to heart, but I was thinking about it, and I started thinking, the domination of the U.S. military in the world is killing a lot of people every day still. I mean, it might be that we took our troops out of Afghanistan, but there's a lot that we are bombing every day. And I started to look again at this from the perspective of the other side, the more pacifist side. And I started thinking pretty hard just now when I was starting to drift off to sleep, trying to think about this a little. Because sometimes we don't think. We just pass through life and work and do whatever we're supposed to do, but we don't really think. And I just was thinking, to me, like, it brings up the idea of centricism. Centric. 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 An example of centric would be like actually thinking that the sun revolves around the earth is an example of centric thinking. So we look up at the sun and it seems to be revolving around the earth. And that is not what happens, really. It's the earth that revolves around the sun. And we spin. There's a degree of spinning that makes it, right? The sun is too big to revolve around the earth. And when you think about how that made people think when in medieval times and so forth, or whatever it was, they thought that we living creatures on earth were more important maybe than the sun. It brings a degree of importance when you have centric thinking. You're thinking that, like, another example of centric thinking is the little kid going, me, 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 me. The little kid wanting a cookie and saying, me, 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 me. Like a 2-year-old or something who isn't really concerned with other things, the other siblings, anything. They just know that they need that cookie. It's this big ego that is saying, this is what I want. I don't care about anybody else. So, that's part of the centric thinking. American-centric thinking is something that a lot of people seem to be guilty of. We deserve world domination. Like, the world needs us to take care of them. I know that's not true. I know that if peace is a word that we can say, it's something that could be possible. I know that America causes a lot of problems. We hurt a lot of people. And so just thinking about Buddhism or not wanting to cause suffering or just compassion, I have to think that maybe America shouldn't be dominating, because I forget which hand I was using, but in the one hand, maybe America should be dominating is saying, like, I think that was his hand. Maybe America should be dominating is saying, like, if we didn't do it, who's going to do it? We bring the world into balance, the economy into balance, our capitalism, our beautiful system. Otherwise, what's going to happen? Who's going to be in charge? What are they going to make us do? Well, that's the thing. It's the us. It's the what perspective. Who is it who's suffering in the picture? Right now, the only injustices that Americans are suffering are a great many because our military is spending so much money and we don't have enough. But it's an economic injustice that we're suffering right now from the wars. But at the same time, there are many places, I'm not sure all of them. I think Syria is one of them. Iraq? I'm trying to think of the places where we are causing a lot of harm. There's one in Africa. I don't know much about all of it. I need to watch more Democracy Now! Probably. I wanted to talk about it broadly, like philosophical concepts that we have, not like, I don't think that you have to know all the facts to know if it's right for America to dominate the world. But I am going to go research more facts. But, I don't think it's right for America to dominate the world. I really don't think it's right for our military to take over the world. I don't know what it would look like if we didn't. Maybe Americans would have better health care because all that money didn't go into war. Maybe Americans would have better education. Maybe the nurses wouldn't be having to strike in New York City because they are underpaid and they want to take care of the patients better. I mean, we're suffering in America. There's a huge homelessness problem. The housing situation's terrible. I mean, in certain places, I definitely could not afford to sustain myself to live in a house. If I lived in California, if I lived in New York, there are a lot of parts of America where I just couldn't survive as an American on a disability income. That's not right. a disabled American should be able to survive in their own country. So if we weren't dominating the world as much, maybe scale it back just a notch and give us better education, give us better housing situations, give us more money for our disabled people so that we can pay for housing. There are a lot of human needs in America. And there are a lot of human needs elsewhere that are important. I don't want other people suffering. And I'm not suffering that bad. And that's why it can be hard to be blind. It can be easy to be kind of blindsided by the domination of America in the military. I don't know. I feel like there was a part one. I'm interested in what people think about it. What do people think? Leave a comment. I'm interested.